Welcome to Love Yourself, the podcast where we break down the reasons why you aren't losing weight and help you discover confidence, self-worth, and resilience all along the way. Weight loss isn't a knowledge problem, it's a thinking problem, and I'm here to show you how to lose weight with your brain, not another diet plan. So as you listen, notice what resonates with you, and if something clicks or you want to go deeper, I would love for you to book a call with me right after the episode. Comparison is the thief of joy, but in the weight loss world, it's the thief of identity. Today, we're going to talk about compare and despair, that gut-wrenching feeling of not being enough, and how that feeling was manufactured to keep us buying more. Welcome to episode 253 in the Love Yourself Thin podcast, The Comparison Trap. All right, so this theme, we're talking a lot about how the difference between perception and reality, and how many of us struggle with feeling like we are enough. If I was to interview my clients and just anyone around me, I would guess to say that most of us would say our main problem is never feeling like we are good enough. And this theme is constantly in our head. And just like when you walk on grass enough times, that grass starts flattening and eventually it doesn't even grow anymore. It's that rut in our brain. And until we actually do this work and really look at why do we struggle with weight loss, we'll never actually figure it out. So let's look at this question. Am I good enough? The psychological concept of that. So I want you to ask yourself, why do we struggle with that? How many times have we heard this or seen this idea of, if I looked like so-and-so, then I would be acceptable? So how often do you do that? How often do you think, well, in order for me to be happy, even if it's not weight loss, in order for me to be happy, once I finish that project, or once I have a better kitchen, or once I get a new car, or once I finish this one project, or once my kids are out of the house, or once I retire, then I can be happy. How many times do you fall into that conditional trap? That comparison isn't just about size. It's a thief that steals your joy, your talents, and your presence. It keeps you from being excited and being a participant in your own life. It's like you're constantly looking at other people, comparing yourself to them, so you never can be with yourself. And I like this idea of there's a great book by Dan Sullivan, The Gap and the Gain. So when we focus on the gap, on what we don't have instead of the things that we do, then we stop valuing our own ideas, our own thoughts, our own wisdom, and our own inherent worth. Because that's something I say over and over. Your worth, your value is always there, regardless of how much you weigh, how much money you have, what kind of car you drive. And so we trade our authenticity for a chase that has no finishing line. It's like the goalposts just keep getting moved further and further, and you never feel like you've ever arrived. Like you're running this race and you're like, when is this going to be over? And so if we use history, so there's this historical concept of the shifting goalposts. So when we use history to prove that the standard is a moving target, meaning it's a lie, let's look at that. So remember the era of Marilyn Monroe and Betty Boop? So there were times when a rounder, full-figured woman was the ideal. In these eras, more women actually fit in. The standard was closer to the biological reality of many women, which reduced the feeling of being broken. So then we have this thin pivot where in the 1960s, we had Twiggy. The 90s, there was the heroin chic. We just had those awards, and seeing these skeleton thin, like Demi Moore and these different actresses, they look like they're walking skeletons. So we're back into this super frail, fragile, thin era. So if the ideal body changes every 20 years, why are we treating it? It's a moral truth. Why are we letting a fashion trend determine our self-worth? Moving from magazines, which were edited, to Instagram, TikTok, which are filtered in real time, how does that make sense that we struggle with our self-image? How does it make sense that we don't even think we're allowed to feel good about our body? So let's talk about the marketing engine and who sets the standard. The media doesn't sell beauty, it sells the lack of beauty. Media doesn't sell beauty, it sells the lack of beauty. And so if you feel good enough, you stop buying the products, the creams, and the programs. The standard is set by those who profit from your dissatisfaction. When you ask the question, am I good enough? The industry says, not yet, but this product will get you there. How many times have you fallen into that trap? Now, I want to share something. I had eyelid surgery. And so if you're watching my podcast from before, if you're not watching my podcast, you can go on my YouTube. And there's definitely a difference. My dad had to get that surgery. My grandfather probably should have had that surgery. But my eyelids were extremely hooded and they did affect my vision. They also affected how heavy I felt. And it has been really surprising to me. I didn't pay for it. It wasn't a plastic surgeon I went to. It was a specialist. It was paid by the government because it was deemed an essential service. But it is actually interesting for me to have experienced what that has done for me psychologically when I look at myself, because I look different than what I was before. And there's a little piece of me that just feels kind of disconnected a little bit. It's interesting when we talk about the standard of beauty and where does that come from and who decides and what product do you need to buy or what do you feel like you have to buy into? And even in today's world where we're seeing all these super skinny influencers, I'm 6 feet tall. I weigh 155 to 100, sometimes 155, 157, sometimes 152. And I sometimes think, well, should I have a six pack? Should my arms be more ripped? Like, should I have like real strong definition for my arms in order for me to be acceptable? I have a little bit of skin right here. Is that okay? I'm 50. I'll be 53 this year. And there's always that doubt in my mind of, is this enough? And this is the part, right? The comparison trap. I want you to ask yourself, who gets to set the standard? And are you going to allow that standard to define you or who you want to be? This is a really important question. And as we talk about the history, and so we've had some pretty in-depth history lessons, but how does it make sense that society, religion, society, government have been trying to manipulate people with the way their bodies look? Artists, look at David, look at the French artists with the women having a larger belly. That's a beautiful thing. I was reading an article once about these childcare workers and the women that were a little bit plumper. The kids gravitated to them in the daycare more than the skinny daycare workers. And I thought, that's really interesting. So who are we to say what is the ideal body? What is the thing that says that standard is that you're good enough? I talked a little bit about my surgery and my reconstructive surgery on my eyes and my nose, and just this idea of beauty and this constant question of, am I good enough? I love this answer. The industry says not yet, but this product will get you there. And it's that this is when you're on that treadmill where you're never ever good enough. So I want to really talk about reclaiming yourself. Let's look at what autonomy is and self-worth. So when you think about project body, something to be fixed, with the inhabited body, a home for the soul, what comes up for you? We've been in this house for 9 years now, and we've renovated a lot of houses, and we've done really well. And it's been a lot of work, but my husband and I, we don't go into debt for renovations. We don't go into debt for buying cars. We're those people that save a bunch of money. And then once we have enough, then we buy it. And so it took us 8 years to save up enough money. We have 5 kids and They're doing all sorts of things like getting married and going to university and going on church service missions. My kids were just in Arizona last week for a big tournament, so flying them there and all of those things. When I first bought this house, I hated the kitchen. I hated it. It was probably the ugliest kitchen we've ever had. I remember just talking to the kitchen and just being like, ugh, you're so gross. I know I hate you. You're so ugly. I missed all my other beautiful kitchens. And I just thought, this is ridiculous. And then I thought, that's not really nice to talk to my kitchen like that. I mean, my kitchen is just my kitchen. And then I started thinking, because I always felt bad when I talked to my kitchen like that. I started saying things like, kitchen, you're not my favorite, but I can cook for 50 people. And there's some things I would change. I can feed my family every day and I can have parties for 50 people. Thank you, kitchen. It was interesting to me because obviously I was thinking about the way I spoke to my body and what a bad relationship I had when I was speaking to my body like that. Think about this idea of the contrast between project body, ugly kitchen, to thank you, kitchen. You're a little quirky, but I love you. And then eventually we renovated our kitchen. So we tore it all apart and we took out some walls and we had to put in new flooring. We put in new, we built it. It was an IKEA kitchen and it did not go smoothly all the time. It was over Christmas, but it was something we did all together and we worked hard and we saved and it was like it brought us together. And so it was a challenge. So I want you to think about what would it be like if you caught yourself sooner and sooner when you got into that comparison trap. Their body is nicer than mine. Their kitchen is nicer. Their house is nicer. Their kids are better. Their whatever. Okay. What would happen if you caught yourself and say, oh, I'm not doing that anymore? That's not how I want to live my life, because that actually sucks a lot of energy and it doesn't make me feel good about myself. And I don't want to be like that. What would that be like? So I want you to think about, there's a challenge I want to give you. It's called a Joy Audit. Okay. Because if comparison is the thief of joy, how do we get out of that? Let's look at these questions. What have you stopped doing because you didn't feel thin enough to do it? Which parts of your personality did you shrink to fit into a standard that was designed to make you fail? Think about this shift of moving from, am I good enough in the world, to, is this standard good enough for me? And when you're thinking about a joy audit, it looks like, what are the things in my life that actually bring me joy? How can I have joy now? One of the things that I share inside my membership is I speak to them about what can you do now to enjoy your life? Because how many times do we say, I can't be happy until I lose weight? It's like me with my kitchen. I can't be happy in this house. Actually, I have to admit that in other houses, I couldn't relax until my house was like done a certain way. And the ironic thing is we have probably the ugliest bathroom I've ever had. And the 2 bathrooms downstairs are so ugly and I haven't renovated them. And we've lived in this house for 9 years. And so I'm learning to do this exercise with my kitchen. I did it with my kitchen. Now I'm doing it with the bathrooms. And I can live with them. I can appreciate them. I can thank them. And I can also thank myself for being the kind of person that is financially responsible to wait until I can afford to pay for it cash and I can appreciate it. So I don't have to be mad or angry. I can just appreciate, yeah, it's not my favorite kitchen. Now my kitchen's beautiful, but it's not my favorite bathroom, but that's okay. You do what it needs and I appreciate you. So I want you to think about your joy audit in life. What are the things that you are allowed to enjoy, even if it's not perfect? What kind of shift would that bring to your mind? All right. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this podcast episode. I would love to meet with you and offer you one of the spots where I do an audit with you of where are you in your life right now, and really look at what is the root of your weight loss struggles. What is the root, even if you don't have a lot of weight to lose, but what is the root of your life struggles? Like, what are the things about your life right now that you're not loving? And let's figure out why. Like, why are you staying stuck? So go ahead and you can book a free call with me. And in full disclosure, I will give you some free coaching. And what I mean by that is I'm going to help you diagnose what is it that's really keeping you stuck. And then we'll have that conversation of whether you work with me one-on-one or in my group program, or if it's more appropriate to meet with a therapist or trauma or something, I can help you with that. So I would love to give you that support and help. It's wonderful that we're spending this time together on this podcast. And I'm looking forward to sharing with you the 4th episode of this historical look at weight loss and why it's manipulative, so controlling and difficult for us to work through. The next episode is talking about the pathway to freedom. I cannot wait to help you over there. So I'll see you next week in episode 254. As you're leaving this episode, I want you to take a moment and notice what stood out for you. What did you learn about yourself? What felt true? And where are you ready to start thinking differently? Remember, this work isn't about doing more. It's about understanding how your brain is working right now and learning how to shift it in a way that's always going to support you. And you don't have to do that alone. If you're ready to stop second-guessing yourself, stop feeling stuck, and start creating real momentum in your life, I would love to help you. You can book a call with me and we'll look at what's really going on for you and what your next step can be. I'll talk to you. I can't wait to talk to you.